Listen, I love a dramatic candle moment as much as the next witch, but if your spells are light a candle and hope for the best, I'm about to ruin this for you in the best possible way.
Welcome to the Love Siren podcast, your weekly dose of enchantment for the modern romantic. I'm Dahlia, your queer, poly, feminist witch, guiding you into your most magnetic, irresistible siren self. If you're craving ocean-deep love, delicious confidence, and results that last, you've just unlocked the right portal. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it.
Welcome to class. We are all about anatomy of a spell today. I have broken this down into 7 parts, and this is something that I've created for myself. I would really encourage you to use this if you're new to this world. I would encourage you to use this as a framework for you to begin, but I would love for you to really use it as a very loose guideline. Like, I want you to take this and be able to build your own practices based off of this framework that I'm giving you. And it's entirely possible that you might create something even more than me. Maybe you have a 14-step anatomy to a spell instead of just my 7. So starting off with part 1, intention. And I am so guilty of saying intention is everything. And like, honestly, it's not. It's not everything, but it is a huge chunk of the pie. So when we're thinking about our intention, I want you to think about getting as specific as feels comfortable for you. I spoke about my human design, and I'm a non-specific manifester. You might be a specific manifester. If you need help finding that, I just want to plug again that I offer human design readings. But I think that as a generalized rule, I want you to get as specific as feels exciting to you. So if you're a specific manifester, maybe like down to the teeniest, tiniest detail feels so good and so fun to you. Whereas maybe if you're a non-specific manifester, just kind of like a general vibe on what you're looking for is what feels great. And then too many details might feel a little overwhelming for you. So just get excited with your details, and then I want you to focus on the feeling that you're going to have. A lot of times when we do abundance spells, we don't actually care about the money itself. The money is just a tool that gets us peace or freedom or fun. And so we want to focus on our feelings and how we will feel once we get the thing rather than the thing itself. I also want you to be careful that if your intention is fuzzy, then your results will be too. So for example, instead of saying, I want love, I want you to say, I call in a secure, emotionally available partner who meets me in devotion. Do you see how one is saying, I want a sandwich, and the other is saying, I want a BLT with garlic aioli on a French baguette? I also encourage you to do a little bit of shadow work as you're building your intention. So you might ask the question, what part of me doesn't feel safe having this? Going back to the money example, are you being a little bit too spendy? I'm very guilty of doom scrolling Facebook Marketplace and just having that be a bit of a drain on my resources because there's so much cool used stuff that's super cheap but obviously still like costs money. It can be really helpful instead also to think, what are you going to do once you have that thing? So once I have this $1,000, I'm going to put it towards my student loan debt, which will make me feel relieved. It will make me feel a little bit more free. It'll make me feel a little less burdened by this debt. I really love to think of the intention as like, this is the address that I'm putting on my envelope so the post office knows where to deliver the letter. Part 2 is grounding. If you're naturally a very powerful person, which honestly so many of us are, we don't even know, but it's really easy to use from your natural well of magic rather than borrowing from universal source energy or also from the earth's energy. So always before a spell, I will do a meditation where I imagine at the crown of my head a pillar of light that is going from my crown chakra to the middle of the universe, right in the stars. I really imagine all of the nova imagery that I've seen in the past. And then I'll also imagine a similar pillar of light, usually a different color, that is going from wherever I'm sitting down to the molten core of the earth. I am a fire sign. I have tons of fire in my chart. So I get really motivated by that lava, that magma energy. But it might feel better to you to focus in on the actual ground itself, like the soil, the grass, all of that stuff. And then I just let these lights swirl around me. Usually it's around my belly button. And I'll just let them swirl throughout my body. And I'll know that I have been borrowing the energy outside of just myself. If you find that you are feeling really depleted after spells and you're not doing the grounding process, I would really encourage you to try this and see how it affects your practice. I've done spells with a lot of different people, and I find that a lot of people don't do grounding as part of their anatomy of their spell. And I think that you can totally, because again, you have so much magic inside of you, but why bother? If you are just one battery and you can borrow 5 other batteries, wouldn't you want to do that? This is also the part of the spell where you want to add in your protection. So this can be as simple as adding a smoky quartz, or I have a bunch of bracelets that I have assigned for protection, but it can also be a white candle with some protection sigils on it. You can call in your energies for the highest good. I'm going to do a different podcast episode about ancestors. I have a very complicated relationship with my ancestors. I think that, sometimes they just don't have your best interests at heart. And so really calling in what is best for your highest self rather than these energies that might not want you to succeed. We just want to be very mindful of that. I think that there's a lot of science behind witchcraft that we just simply don't know yet. And so when I think about protection, it's almost like a nice condom while I'm doing my witchcraft. I don't want something nasty by mistake because I didn't use a condom, I would rather just play it safe rather than sorry and just have something for protection. You can also do this with your grounding meditation as well and just create a bubble of light around you. But something that is declaring that you are protected, something that is declaring that this spell is only for your highest good. Part 3 is really feeling your spell. So I always wait for a feeling. Typically, I wait for a giggle to erupt from my mouth, which is all the time, or some kind of movement in my body. Something that is like, oh my gosh, I am so excited to finally be putting in my BLT order for this delicious meal at the Universe restaurant. I spoke about this in episode 4, how witchcraft cured my anxiety and executive dysfunctioning, but I really love to think about spells as putting in your order for the waitress at the cosmic restaurant. Anyway, it might not be a positive feeling. It might not be a giggle. It might be frustration. Maybe you're feeling sick of your job not giving you any raises or promotions or anything. Maybe you need to tap into that anger that you deserve more. I do want to offer a small caveat that you should regulate yourself and not do impulsive spells. I know people who have done love spells during heartbreak and they have absolutely backfired on them. This is a bit of a silly example, but I remember hanging out with my niece and my sister, and my niece wanted a cookie, and it was 10 minutes before dinner was ready, and my sister was like, no, you have to wait. And my niece, not understanding the concept of time, had a meltdown over this, right? And so my sister was trying to rationalize with her that dinner's going to be ready super soon. Just hold on, and then you'll eat, and then you can have a cookie afterwards. But my niece was just so upset over the cookie. And so I was watching this and I was like, oh, this is how I am when I'm impatient with the universe. How many times have you had a manifestation finally come true only to have you be like, oh, that needed to happen so that way this could happen so that way I could finally be here. Part 4 is finally the spell itself. So I feel like candle magic is my personal favorite and also I would say the most popular. I think it's very Instagrammable, which is why there are so many spells that are like this. But that's also part of the reason why I wanted to make this episode, because I feel like if you're just skipping to part 4 and you're missing 1 through 3, then the spell is not going to have the same weight that you want it to. It's not going to be as effective, or you're going to feel incredibly depleted afterwards. On top of that, if you're just recreating a spell that you found from somebody else and you're ignoring your intuition, that also is just not going to pack the same kind of punch. Honestly, I feel like part 4 is like where all of the information is, so I'm not going to focus that much on it. And instead, I'm going to move on to part 5, which is belief and subconscious work. This is, in my opinion, where most spells, quote unquote, fail. The first reason could be cognitive dissonance. So let's say, for example, you're doing an abundance spell, but you think that money is evil or you think money corrupts people. Then you're simply just not going to manifest as much abundance because your belief that you are a good person and your fear over being corrupted or being seen as evil or anything like that is going to trump any abundance that you might be calling in. I think of it like you have 1 foot on the gas and you have 1 foot on the brake, so your spell is confused as to where to go. But if you can ease your foot off of that brake, then you'll be able to start getting some momentum. I also want you to look at your self-sabotaging patterns. So you might get what you want and then completely push it away. For example, maybe you're calling in attention, but then you ghost or you withdraw or you pick fights because receiving feels unsafe. Maybe you're waiting for a particular opportunity to show up, but then when it does, you procrastinate or you don't respond or you minimize it. I remember winning a film contest for Fantasia in Montreal, and I didn't go. I got a free pass to Fantasia, but I was like, no, it's too much money. Or I was like, oh, whatever. It was just a 30-second short that I did. I think about that now, and I'm like, that is such a huge regret that I had. I need you to know that at the end of that giggle, my timer was at 11:11, and I can't help but feel like the universe is like, yeah, you should have regretted that. Anyway, you might also return to old emotional states like insecurity, lack, or comparison, even when things are shifting. This is part of the reason why lottery winners have such a hard time, because they literally can't hold such a large sum of money because their emotional container just isn't big enough. I also mentioned this in my friendship breakup episode, but leveling up can be really lonely. I think about those lottery winners. I think about myself if I ever won the lottery, and I think about the amount of people that would kind of come back into my life and be like, hey, how's it going? And people that would just kind of like take advantage of me in that state. And I would feel a little bit of responsibility towards them. So I think that we think of self-sabotage as like really bad. I think we can see it as like just the worst thing, but honestly, I can totally understand why people get in their own way to stay safe. And I think it's really important to normalize this. It's so easy to be like, ugh, why am I like this? And instead, I want you to think, of course I'm scared. This is new. Just like the first day of school or the first day of a new job, it's going to take some getting used to. But then after 6 months, you might look back on that first day and be like, wow, why was I ever nervous? I've said this before, I'm going to say it a million times, but we're building a muscle. We're not flipping a switch. Every day you choose to embody your ideal self, that is helping make that dream life a reality, even in the smallest ways. Just like when you go to the gym, if you can only do 1 rep of 5-pound weights, that's still more than doing nothing. Bridges can be really helpful for this. The one that I have on my mirror right now is I'm starting to believe that money can feel easy, that money can come to me when I sleep, and that it doesn't need to be hard. And I am starting to believe that. It doesn't feel like a lie in my system because that is something that I'm starting to believe. I'm not there yet, but we're getting closer every day. Part 6 is release. So we've put on the address, we put the stamp on, and now we put it in the mailbox and it's done. It can feel really hard to release, especially something that feels life or death, like money or a new job. But unfortunately, releasing is the key. I remember trying to manifest a first class ticket for years. And it was finally when I gave up and I was like, okay, I don't think that this is in the cards for me, that it finally happened. And it happened on a red eye flight from London to Las Vegas, which is like the most glorious first class ticket that I could have possibly chosen. It was incredible. So if you're asking for a cookie and it's taking a while, it might be that you need to eat some dinner before you can get your cookie. And if releasing is really hard for you, I want to encourage you to get very curious instead. Start seeing where synchronicities are happening or what people say or what feels challenging. You never know when that is the dinner that you need to eat first before you can get your cookie. The last part, it might be a contradiction, but I swear to God it's not. Aligned action. This is truly where the magic is. And this is, I think, genuinely, where a lot of non-witchy people can still experience so much results and where witchy people can feel so stuck. There's the timeless proverb, fortune favors the bold. And I think that this is where if you are brave enough to take this action, then of course you're going to experience results. Okay, so you did 1 through 6. You completed the spell, you've completed the magic, and now it's time to bring in the mundane. Maybe you're trying to call in a new job. How's your wardrobe looking? Do you need to buy an interview outfit so that way when you get the call, you're good to go? Have you gotten your resume looked at by a friend? Maybe you're manifesting a vacation. Do you have a Google flight alert going? Do you even have a suitcase? Do you see a bathing suit that you love that is on sale and you're like, no, I'll hold off until my vacation arrives? No, get it now. Again, we are doing a small caveat that I never want you to get into debt for your manifestation. I think that a lot of times people can misunderstand money manifestation where they need to spend the money now for it to return to them. And very rarely does it actually work out that way. So don't go into debt. But if you're seeing the perfect thing and you can afford it, absolutely do it. Last one, are you casting a love spell, but you're just staying home waiting for the person to knock on your door? You can light as many candles as you want. You can meditate for hours, but you're gonna have to leave your apartment to finally meet somebody. One of the best ways to figure out how to find that aligned action is just starting to ask yourself questions. This is something that I do with my one-on-one clients all the time because when you ask good questions, you get good results. I've already asked a few questions in this episode, but to reiterate, how will I feel once I get this manifestation? How would the version of me who already has this move through the world? If I trusted my magic fully, what would I create? Especially if your strategy in human design is responding, journal prompts can be so effective for you to help you get to the meat of what you're looking for. Oh, it's my favorite. Boundaries. Are you letting in things that are not good for you so that the things that are good for you don't have room to come in? The best example of this is, are you in a relationship where you know it's run its course, you have done as much as you could for repair and resolution and it's not coming, but you're staying because it feels comfy? And that is preventing somebody who is a great match for you from coming into your universe. Also, I don't know if you clocked it earlier, but I spoke about how I could not be a lottery winner because I feel a certain responsibility to some people in my life. And so I know that that is a block that I have with money manifestation. I know that if I'm just at a certain level, then I won't be asked for certain things from people. And that feels much better than me saying no, even though I don't actually want that. Of course, I want money. I want an abundance of money. Okay, I think we did it. So, just to reiterate, we have intention, grounding, feeling your spell, the spell itself, as in the ritual, belief and subconscious work, releasing, and then aligned action. I'm so curious how this resonates with you. I'm so curious if it makes a massive difference in your spells, if you feel a little bit more equipped to do the spells yourself. I would love to hear from you. DM me anytime, and I cannot wait to see you next week.